Their military in every aspect. Their Air Force is now decimated. They have no Air Force, no Navy. I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
World leaders say that the U.S. and Israel started this war and they don't want to get involved. They also recommend a diplomatic solution to bring an end to the war. Well, the Scottish Parliament has rejected an assisted suicide measure. Supporters of assisted suicide say it's about compassion, but critics say it's a violation of ethical, medical, societal, and religious beliefs. The Department of Health and Human Services has postponed a planned meeting this week on vaccines following a ruling by a federal judge. Here's Fox's Jeff Manasso.
HHS is temporarily putting off a meeting of the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices that was set to take place this week in Atlanta after Boston-based Judge Brian Murphy, a Biden appointee, ruled in favor of the American Academy of Pediatrics, temporarily pausing all actions the committee under HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had taken since last summer, including the department's landmark decision to overhaul the childhood vaccine schedule. An HHS spokesperson saying the department looks forward to this judge's decision being overturned, just like his other attempts to keep the Trump administration from governing. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
In final news, this year's Academy Award saw a dip in the ratings after several years of gains. Just under 17.9 million viewers tuned into Sunday's show. That's down 9% from last year. The show also yielded a more significant 14% decline from last year in viewership from adults aged 18 to 49. It is possible that at least some viewers opted not to watch this year because of political statements they knew would come on the award stage. That being said, there were at least some pro-marriage and pro-motherhood remarks from this year's nominees. Find more news on AFN.net. Like us on Facebook, follow us on X, and subscribe to our free daily email news briefs on AFN.net. Thanks for listening.
AFA Action takes attacks on the family seriously. The enemies of the family constantly employ new tactics to try to sneak past our radar. They know if we stand together, their evil plans will fail. Your gift to AFA Action allows us to stay vigilant against their onslaught. And if you give this month, you'll receive access to the Cultural Institute video When Your Faith is Illegal by Frank Harbor on AFA Stream as our thanks. You can make your gift today at afaaction.net.
Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildmon, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the end of the world. And I'm your host for it.
Your host for the end of the world.
Actually, we call this show Today's Issues, but today we're renaming it Last of Today's Issues. Today is Wednesday, March the 18th, 2026. We thank you for listening to this show, Today's Issues, and to American Family Radio. We hope you listen throughout the day and evening to AFR as we try to encourage you in your walk with the Lord and also tell you what's happening in our country and in our world so that we can be salt and light, as Matthew chapter 5 tells us to be, in terms of our culture and our society and our families and our churches. Joining me in studio, who also shares this mission, is Ed Battagliano. Good morning, Brother Ed.
Good morning, Tim.
Good morning, Fred Jackson.
Good morning.
You're our brother, too. Go ahead.
You just mentioned the end of the world.
I did?
It reminded me, Lauren Green, who starred in Bonanza.
Yeah.
Some of us remember that program.
Yeah.
Well, before he was an actor, he was a newscaster for the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
I didn't know that.
Where I used to work.
Good trivia question.
Yes.
Yeah.
During World War II, he was doing newscasts. And he was known as the voice of doom. Lord Green.
Lord Green. The
If you
voice of
remember
the
his
news.
voice,
Yeah.
remember his
Yeah.
voice. Imagine him reading a
sober, yeah.
newscast.
Yeah.
Voice of doom.
And let me just take a moment with this discussion unfolding, that folks, many times we live through things that happen that make it sound like it may be the end of the world, and one day, of course, it will. But keep your eyes on the Lord, because you'd be surprised how many difficult, dark times people have gone through and come out on the other side, because God said there's going to be another side to it.
Yeah.
So,
Amen. Like the medieval times.
yeah, absolutely.
People went through that.
I'm listening to a podcast. Funny you should say that. Let me waste some more of our listeners' time.
Medieval times weren't funny, my friend. But you can laugh if you want to.
I'm listening to a podcast, about 3 or 4 episodes podcasts about Christopher Columbus.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, who funded
Yeah.
the trip, they thought the world was ending in 1500, and that they would be the last monarchs to win people to Christ. Okay, because 1500, they said 500, the Trinity, first 500 years of Christianity, second 500 years of Christianity, third 500 years of Christianity, 500 for each members of the Trinity, 1500, game's up. Okay, and I thought, that's fascinating that we always tend to think our little sliver of years
Right.
that make up our life,
Right.
that it could be the end. And now here we are, more than
We're
500
basically
years
just
after
a drop in the ocean.
that. Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
pathetic.
God's in charge.
We're pathetic.
That's
We're just our little lives here in the year 2026.
2026. You know, they Tim, to kind of play off what you typically say, Ferdinand and Isabella funded the discovery of the New World. What have you been doing with your life?
By the way, Chris Woodward, did we properly introduce you?
I don't believe you did, but I
Well-
will say, if the world is ending, I'm going to go home. I've never seen an episode of Bonanza in its entirety. So I'm going to go home today, and I'm going to watch
Well,
an episode of Bonanza.
That's what you're going to do on the last day of your life.
Let me just tell you, Chris,
Well, I
everyone-
checked out the Carpenters yesterday.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's some bucket list things Chris is trying to get to before he gets too old to do them.
What a
I would just say,
bucket.
Chris, if you're ready to watch Bonanza, and it's a great show, I got to little Joe will be shot.
okay.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
And little Joe was shot 73 times.
And little Joe will make it. though.
Now-
But he's always shot in the arm
Yeah.
or something.
that's how they die in soap
non-life
operas, too.
threatening.
Yeah.
Is Bonanza the one that Michael Landon was on?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
little
yeah.
Joe.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
little Joe.
Three sons.
Yeah.
Adam,
Ponderosa.
Adam Haas and Little
Yeah.
Joe. Yeah.
It was a great show. At least millions of Americans thought it was. I think it was second only to Gunsmoke in terms of longevity for westerns.
And there was the non-woke version of Asians with Hop Sing.
Opposite.
Oh, was that before that?
Well, pretty stereotypical.
Because he was in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, pretty stereotypical.
That's why there hasn't been a reboot of that
Well, that's
series.
probably why the Chinese came over here to be cooks and.
Yeah.
Build railroads.
They did.
Yeah, they were going to make a life for themselves.
Dry cleaning.
Yeah.
They were the first people really involved with that.
But they were legal. And
Wait,
they came
hold
over
on.
legally.
How do you know the history of dry cleaning, Chris?
Oh, no, no, seriously.
There, you just threw that at us here. Can you say any more about it?
I read.
Did you
I
read?
read
like
that somewhere.
A volume on that or something?
I mean, that's pretty insulting for
No.
Asians. And all that you left unsaid, Chris, was no ticky, no laundry.
Right. Well, why do we use it? Where does the expression Chinese laundry come from?
Because I think they did have a lot of
Laundry.
laundromats.
Okay.
They would take your
Yes.
Well, my
Yes.
wife says sometimes, and she's not a racist by any means, but she'll say, "Our place looks like a Chinese laundry." Mm-hmm. And is that
I don't know what that means.
is that derogatory
Maybe because
for
it's
the
busy.
racist people? Huh?
I don't know. That may have a reference to the busyness of a Chinese
I
laundry.
think that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I don't know how we got off on this, but
That
Chris
was
started
11 minutes and 40 seconds
Oh,
that
I
you'll
am-
never get back, folks.
we got 5 minutes for
I am
news.
vindicated. I've found a number of credible websites, not named Wikipedia, that
Okay,
back
they
me
say
up.
what?
That the many Chinese immigrants in the 1800s
Came in-
were heavily involved in the laundry business.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, a lot of times stereotypes
or based on
are
something true,
based
right?
on something
like
that's true.
Italians and mafia.
Well,
Well, I mean, you just said true,
yeah,
right?
well, that's a well-known.
I didn't mean to
but
be offensive.
fairly rare example of Italians being involved in the mafia. The percentage.
And Canadians and being nice, right?
Oh, that's not true.
That's not. Oh,
It is. It is.
Fred's not nice.
It is true. I like Canada.
Okay.
I don't like their
Very
politics.
clean.
Well, I tell you another stereotype that is hurtful to me and my people. That Southerners are slow. You know, slow thinkers. Just because we're slow talkers.
Right.
And I don't think that's fair. But that's the way the perception was for so long. Until Gomer Pyle broke that mold.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Gomer Pyle.
He broke it.
He introduced Southerners to the rest of America.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And that
I
helped.
think he may be
All right,
directly
Chris,
responsible.
That man
for
was
the
a-
stereotype.
yeah.
Get us to the end of the world, Chris.
Okay,
Go.
all right. So it's interesting that we're talking about the end of the world because right now, various officials that run things like the CIA, the FBI, and even the Director of National Intelligence.
All of them? Like the trio?
Yeah, they're getting the band back together.
Okay.
So they're appearing in front of lawmakers today for a hearing on terrorism threats. And I've got some audio here of Tulsi Gabbard, our current Director of National Intelligence. She's outlining the threat from things like AI from our enemies, China being one of them. Clip 9.
The IC assesses that China is the most capable competitor in the field of artificial intelligence. The IC assesses that AI capabilities are rapidly advancing and changing the threat landscape, as this is a defining technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human learning comprehension, problem solving, creativity, and autonomy. It will be critical to ensure that humans remain in control of how AI is used and of the machines that may threaten to autonomously violate the interests of the American people across all domains. AI adoption at scale across the spectrum of usage poses serious risks. AI has the potential to aid in weapons and systems design and has been used in recent conflicts to influence targeting and streamline decision-making, underscoring the risk and likely threats that could manifest on the battlefield.
So she's making those comments about China, and President Trump for months now has been saying we need to be the leaders in AI because countries like China are going to use it against us to take over the world.
Well, this is the problem with technological innovation is it usually, like the horse escaping the corral, it usually gets out before you can adequately prepare or repair fences, that kind of thing. There's a little bit of a muddled.
That was a Bonanza reference, I think, right there.
That was a little muddled. The thing I'm saying is,
Your point is,
and the point is, everyone is saying, hey, we got to be cautious with AI. We can't just let it loose without limits. The problem is, who's we?
right.
All right, maybe that's what we want to do, but if we want to keep up with China or other countries that would certainly use that technology to harm us in the international competition between heavyweights, you can't limit them. And so there are people in our country, he says, well, then you can't limit us. If you limit us in this country, we can't keep up with them. And this is how technologies, there used to be and still is a lot of worry about nuclear proliferation. More and more countries getting the bomb. That's what we're at war with Iran over. But we were first. Soviet Union was close behind. Then the commie red pinko Chinese.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a stereotype.
And so now I forget how many. I'll look it up. But there are a lot of countries with nuclear weapons. It's called proliferation, and AI is going to pose the same kind of potential threat. It's just going to explode at some point, and everyone's going to have to hurry to keep up with it. And if you want to know what the danger is in that, I saw this documentary on this company that cloned dinosaurs on an island, and those dinosaurs got loose and ate people.
Several times.
Yes, several times they got loose. Anyway, it's a little bit of a Jurassic Park reference there if you didn't get it.
Hey, Fred, you got anything on this, or you want to move on?
Well, I was listening to Tulsi Gabbard's presentation just before coming in, and I said to Ed, if you're worried at night about threats around the world to America, you
Right.
didn't want to listen to her presentation.
Was that right?
Oh, she went well beyond AI. One point she did make, their concerns. She's the director of national intelligence. Their concerns about terrorism in this country. And she made mention of the attack there at the synagogue in Michigan last week. And we now know the guy who drove that car into that synagogue in Michigan, he has family relatives who are Hezbollah members. So she said, our vigilance has got to increase greatly these days because there are threats from so many directions. I did not know that Iran has been telling the world that they're trying to develop a space program. She said, no, they're not. What they want is for the world to leave Iran alone, because what they really want to do is develop boosters to allow them to deliver intercontinental missiles to Europe. So that's what they're using, falsely stating they want to develop a space program just like everybody else. No, they don't. They want to develop boosters so they can deliver their missiles to places in Europe.
Would the Ayatollah be on that spaceship?
Well, I
you
could see
think
the
it-
movie now, Mullahs on the Moon. Okay? Who believes that? Anybody believe that that's
Yeah.
what they were designing? By the way, 9 countries have in total over 12,000 nuclear weapons. China, France, India, Israel, North Korea, Pakistan, Russia, the UK, and, of course, the U.S.
Yep.
9 countries with nukes.
Did they mention Israel there?
Yeah, Israel's in that group.
Yeah. Go ahead. Next story.
All
Chris.
right. Well, speaking of Iran, this very well could have been the lead. But Israel took out another Iranian official today. This man that they've eliminated.
You can run,
the
but
word they're
you
using.
cannot hide.
The
This is widely known. I'm
the
sorry,
latest person that's been eliminated was Iran's intelligence minister, and I've got some audio of Fox's Trey Ying's talking about this.
Wait a minute. It's the Iranian intelligence
Minister?
minister who was taken out
Yes,
by the Israelis.
with help from the U.S. Clip 3.
A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Ismail Khatib, Iran's intelligence minister, was killed in a precision strike overnight. Khatib was responsible for managing Iran's global cells, these sleeper cells in countries around the world that even threatened U.S. politicians and President Trump. This official says this man had blood on his hands, American blood. They go on to say that Khatib was actually the only person to survive the opening round of strikes in Operation Epic Fury that killed Iran's supreme leader. Those 40 officials killed in around 40 seconds.
Now, in response to this, Iran did fire some stuff at Israel.
Listen, yeah, they did, and Iran or Iran, whichever you prefer, they've still got a few munitions that they can fire out here and there and the other, but their military's been wiped out. Yeah, I don't know what this. I see these people like the Drudge Report and some others, and they make it sound like the U.S. and Israel are losing the war. I mean, I'm going like, that's not accurate at all. Now, whether you agree with the war or not, that's a separate issue. But the U.S. military and the Israeli military have just wiped out the Iranian military capabilities for the most part. Otherwise, you would be seeing Iran fight back. Their navy's at the bottom of the sea. I don't
think they've got little to no air power left.
Yeah, so
That
I
was
don't
taken
know.
out early.
Again, agree or disagree with going to war in the first place. A fair analysis of how things have gone so far is that the U.S. and Israel have cleaned their clock, to borrow an expression, over there. Now, who knows what's going to happen 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now? You can't see way out into if that's considered way out into the future. I mean, when you're in war, you're making plans, but you're also day to day. And so, but the other thing is with some of these people, like the Democrats, not all Democrats, John Fetterman being an exception, the senator from Pennsylvania, who is a reasonable voice on this issue, in my opinion, and even some of the Republicans, I'm still going. Listen, whether you like or dislike President Trump personally or politically, let's set that aside for a minute. If a country told you in your negotiations they were about to finish a nuclear weapon, which is what we were told, not by President Trump, well, he may have said it too, but the gentleman who did the chief negotiating for us, what was his name? With Jared Kushner and what was it called?
Steve Witkoff.
Him. He said, you remember this? We played this on this program. He said they told us what they were about, that they were on the edge of getting.
And you can't stop us.
And you can't stop us. That's basically in your face, America.
Yeah.
Basically, we're going to do this because you can't tell us what to do. And so, if you believe, as I do, that Iran was being honest there and that they were about to have nuclear weapon capabilities, to think that they wouldn't, you're running a big risk. I'm talking about a monumental, historical, top 20 events in history chance that they wouldn't use it, that they wouldn't use the weapons. So if you're a president like Trump, again, take your Trump derangement syndrome out of it if you can, because that's what these people operate under. Many of these, they've lost their mind. Anything Trump, they can't distinguish between good Trump, bad Trump. Okay, they got to go all bad Trump all the time, Hitler type stuff. So if you believe that this country with these religious zealots who hate Jews and Christians and Israel and the U.S., and you're just going to say, well, we're ready, we're willing to roll the dice. And Fred, we're willing to roll the dice, and if they get a nuclear weapon, maybe they won't use it. That is when they've told you that they want to wipe out Israel.
Yeah.
And the great Satan, U.S. So, what is a responsible president supposed to do, knowing all that, and you have the military capability to stop them, and you say, well, no, I don't want to because I'll get criticized too much, and the left will jump on me, and I might lose the midterms because of it. You see what I'm saying? I think a president under those conditions would do precisely what President Trump has done here.
Oh, absolutely. The mainstream media, Trump critics on this particular issue, the way you framed it, they just hate Trump.
Right.
And they actually hope that
overrides any kind of reason.
Yeah, they actually hope Iran would win this. They do.
You think so?
Oh yeah, they hope, just because they hate Trump.
Okay, because if Iran wins, it hurts Trump.
Exactly.
So
exactly. However, and I'm not the first to say this, if Trump had not done anything,
right,
and Iran ended up with nuclear weapons,
wiping out New York City.
Yeah, wipe out New York City. You knew this. Trump.
Exactly.
You knew this.
Right.
And you did nothing.
You did nothing.
Yeah.
By the way, presidents, all the way back to Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and then Donald Trump again, all said Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Okay.
Because it poses a critical threat to U.S. national security and global
Democrat
stability.
and Republican president.
Democrat, half and half. I mean, if you look at Donald Trump as two separate terms divided by Joe Biden, half and half Republican, half Democrat, all the way back to Bill Clinton in the early 90s. If it was possible for Iran to, conceivable for Iran to have begun working towards a nuclear weapon, I think George H.W. Bush would have said, no, that ain't happening on my watch.
I wonder if Israel would have gone, I think they probably would have. They would have gone with or without us.
Yes.
Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's more comfortable for us to be an ocean away or 2 oceans away from Iran. But imagine if Iran was, I don't know, Colombia or Nicaragua or Ecuador, and they were threatening us, Houston and Dallas and Los Angeles, with a nuclear weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And you think a president would, knowing that, know that they were about to have this capability, you think a president would sit back and wait, or you see what I'm saying? I think Israel was going in,
Yes.
with or without us. Don't you think so, Fred?
Oh, absolutely. They knew what we knew. Israel
Right.
knew. And Israel, because of what happened on October 2023, that was a defining line that we know Hamas funded, weaponized by Iran. So after that, and that, because some people blame Netanyahu for allowing 2023 to happen. So he was never going to allow that again. So I think, and that meeting back a month ago, when Netanyahu came to the White House, left through the back door, remember that? They had a 3-hour meeting in the Oval Office. I think Netanyahu...
I agree with you.
He told the president, with or without you, Mr. President,
Right.
we love you, we appreciate the United States, but we are going to go and make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon.
Yeah.
I think they had no choice, Israel. We conceivably would have a choice. We're talking about their quote-unquote space program, which they wanted ICBMs, is what they wanted. But initially, those ICBMs would have been able to reach Europe. So they were not even close to being able to reach us yet, unless they put it on a boat and detonated it outside of Miami. So we actually could have waited, but Israel couldn't. Because what Witkoff was told was that they were close to getting 16 operational nuclear weapons. They had enough fissile material to do that. So Israel had no choice for its own. And I'm glad that President Trump said, no, we'll go in with you, because eventually we've got to deal with this issue too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad he did. I'm not saying that all the consequences are going to be pleasant. We're all dealing with high gas prices and all that.
Do you buy this criticism from some on the right that Israel dragged the U.S. into war here?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I just, that's part of the kind of some of the sickness that seems to be developing amongst conservatives.
Right.
Blaming Israel. We're allies with Israel. I hope that Israel would tell us, we're doing it.
Right.
We'd like you to come along, but we're grown-ups. Trump made the decision on his own.
Right.
Nobody dragged us.
All right, we'll be back with more. Abraham Hamilton III will be with us momentarily. Stay with us.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildmon.
One day in London, a Methodist preacher looked out over the poor people of that city. His heart went out to those people. He wanted to help them, and he dedicated his life to their service. Little did he know what that dedication would mean. In a few years, his efforts to aid the poor had gained a few followers and many opponents. Quite often he found his followers beaten and their property wrecked or destroyed because of their convictions. In 1884, 37 years after he began preaching, 600 of his followers were sent to prison because of their religious concern for the poor. Following several years of persecution, the founder and the movement began to win some acceptance. Much of this acceptance was brought about when he presented his case in a book entitled In Darkest England and the Way Out. In that book, he had concrete proposals for several improvements: relieving poverty and fighting vice, homes for the homeless, training centers to prepare immigrants for overseas countries, rescue homes for women and girls being sold into bondage for immoral purposes, homes for released prisoners, legal aid for the poor, and practical help for the alcoholic. The movement became known as the Salvation Army, and the preacher who fell in love with the poor people of London was named William Booth. Someone asked him one day what the secret of his very productive life was. His answer was simple and quite profound. "I'll tell you the secret," he said. "I have made up my mind that Jesus Christ could have all there was of William Booth. I know that he has men with more brains and more ability. But when I saw the poor of London, and knowing what Jesus Christ could do for them, I made up my mind to give all there is of me to him. Of this man, the historian wrote that his theology was simple, certainly concentrated on essential matters, clearly expounded for the understanding and inspiration of the common man. Read the history books, and one thing stands out above everything else. It isn't the person with the most ability who does the most good in life. It is rather the person with the most dedication and determination. And herein is the beauty of the Christian faith. For the carpenter doesn't judge us by how much ability we have, but by the depth of our dedication. It isn't the wisest person, or the richest person, or the strongest person that the Galilean is looking for. No, it is the dedicated and faithful person. Our Maker doesn't judge us by how high we rise in life, but by how hard we try. We aren't judged by the amount of our abilities, but by the way we use what abilities we have. William Booth made up his mind to give all he had, and that's all our Maker wants. I guess what this story really says to us is that when we present ourselves to him for service, we should leave our credentials and recommendations at home. We need to bring only our faithfulness.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildmon, a production of the American Family Association.
Beloved, we are now children of God, and what we will be has not yet been revealed. We know that when Christ appears, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. And everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself just as Christ is pure. 1 John 3, 2 and 3.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Chris. We are here in studio, and joining us now is our colleague Abraham Hamilton III, host of the Hamilton Corner, which you hear each afternoon from 5 to 6 o'clock here on American Family Radio. The Hamilton Corner with Abe. Good morning, Abe.
Good morning.
Where were we? What was our topic for Abe today?
Well,
I think gardening.
No.
Gardening
we did have and Chris may have a story. I have an article here from a website talking about jury nullification was the first thing we wanted to bring up. Did you have a story in that?
I had a legal story that I was going to run past him if we have time, but you go ahead.
Well, the story is, Abe, about a liberal group. This was first reported, I think, by the Washington Free Beacon. It's a group called Freedom Trainers. It is funded by George Soros's Community Change.
Guy never runs out of money, does he?
Yeah.
Good.
And they've been hosting webinars and distributing materials on jury nullification. And the aim of this is for leftists to find ways to get on juries in important cases. I don't know how you do that, but to resist the Department of Justice and basically to use your vote as a member of the jury to make sure people get off, regardless of the evidence. So, first of all, explain what jury nullification is. I used to think it was just what judges could do, but apparently jurors can just say, well, it needs to be a unanimous vote, and I'm voting against it. And is this a significant threat to our judicial process?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a significant threat. It is a threat, but the threat is only as broad as the makeup of our populace. In order to do this, you have to have a concerted amount of people who would be, in terms of executing this strategy by the George Soros funded groups, you have to have a concerted amount of people that are willing to just flat out lie, and in so doing risk facing consequences for them lying. This is why I always tell people that the most important part of any jury trial is actually jury selection. And even the expression jury selection is a misnomer, because it's really more of a process of deselection. It's the job of the attorneys during the jury selection process to identify whether or not there are jurors who will ultimately, or I should say it better, veneermen, because you're not a jury until you're sworn in, but veneermen are the people that present themselves for potentially being sat on the jury, but to determine whether or not you have veneermen who will follow the law. And so what the whole jury nullification Soros project is to get people who really have no commitment to following the law, but to find themselves on a jury nevertheless, so that they can, quote unquote, nullify a law that they disagree with by getting on the jury.
Okay. So I'm happy to hear that you don't think this
How
is...
widespread is this, though? Is this...
Well, the reason I wanted to bring this up, I have no idea how widespread it is. I have great concerns about these George Soros funded groups who have, over the course of the last, 5-10 years, gotten prosecutors elected in major metropolitan areas who have basically been prosecutors now, basically in favor of the criminals rather than the victims of crime. We've been complaining on the conservative side of things for years about just judges who are activist judges. I'm not blaming that on George Soros. That existed before his groups began to be funded. But I am concerned that there are people in this country who don't care about law, who don't care about the Constitution, who don't care about the truth. They only care about their ideology and winning, regardless of what comes after that. I just found this story kind of disturbing. Any last comments or thoughts on that?
Well, no, it is disturbing, but the penchant toward lawlessness is far broader than the legal system. And then I would say, in terms of threats to the legal system specifically, the Soros prosecutors are far more prevalent threat than the jury nullification trainers or whatever, because you would have to get other jurors to go along with it. It's something that would be determined on a jurisdiction basis. You're not going to get, and I've experienced this myself, you're not going to get a jury of, Harris County, Texas, or, and Mississippi, certain states, to go along with somebody who will blatantly say, oh, well, no, even though we see all evidence this dude is guilty, to go along with them to vote not guilty. That's not going to happen. And even in the criminal context, if you have a mistrial, all that happens is the potential for a retrial. Okay. So that's not something that's necessarily going to be the conclusion of the matter. And so I think the Soros prosecutors are far more of a significant and imminent threat than any potential jury nullification strategy.
I feel better. That's why we have a constitutional attorney. Come on. All right, I feel better. Thank you for that.
Is that all?
That's
well,
all
I'm
I had.
here for you.
No, Fred,
I'm here to make you
Fred's
feel
got
better.
a question.
Us single syllable first names must stick together.
Yes. Abe, Chris has a story that we have on our website this morning. This has to do with a judge appointed by former President Barack Obama who doesn't like the Ten Commandments.
Yes.
Gee, I'm so surprised.
Yeah. So for those not aware, the Obama judge on Monday of this week, Timothy L. Brooks is his name, and he struck down Arkansas's law that mandates schools display the Ten Commandments. Arkansas, like Louisiana, like Texas, wants posters in the public schools to display the Ten Commandments as a way of paying tribute and educating students about the connection between the Ten Commandments and America's legal system. But this judge ruled that what Arkansas wants is not allowed or should not be allowed. And I know, Abe, that Arkansas is in a different appeals court circuit than Louisiana and Texas.
Federal court.
That's
yes.
right.
So Louisiana and Texas are in the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals. Arkansas is in the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals.
Yeah.
And I guess Arkansas is not, they're not going to be impacted by the 5th Circuit's recent ruling in favor of Louisiana's law. I guess my question is, are we headed towards an inevitable Supreme Court case about Ten Commandments laws?
Well, maybe not, because the Eighth Circuit still has to rule on this. You know, one of the things that's interesting about this, Judge Timothy Brooks only serves in the Western District of Arkansas. So his opinion on Arkansas's law doesn't affect anything beyond his own district. There are other portions of Arkansas that could even rule differently than what Timothy L. Brooks has ruled. But also, this is, as you rightly pointed out, a district court judge. And so before you can even have the prospect of a circuit split, we'd have to see what the Eighth Circuit is going to say on this matter. And you also rightly pointed out that the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has already ruled that Texas and Louisiana's laws are constitutional. You know, so if there's no circuit split and the Eighth Circuit tends to agree with the Fifth Circuit, then the matter will be settled at that juncture.
All right, let me ask you guys this, and I'll take Abe's answer first. What do you say, Abe, to someone who says you cannot force religion on children in public schools, and you're forcing religion by making them have to look at the 10 Commandments posted on the wall? Would you like it if we posted some Sharia law up there, maybe in Dearborn or somewhere in where there's a growing Muslim population? How would you Christians feel about that? We put some. So how do we answer? How do we answer that kind of a question?
Well, I can answer it on the legal front, and I can answer it on the personal front.
We got time.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
personally, I'll just say
do both.
Very plainly, the 10 Commandments is what set the foundation for this entire nation, buddy. Whoever had a problem with that, you have another country you can go to. If you want to go in a country where there is Sharia law, you're more than welcome to go there.
Go back to your country.
I wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't even say go back, because there may be some people that want to go at first instance. If you have a preference for that, you're welcome to do so. But that being said, I'm kind of saying that, kind of jesting slightly, but we have Moses engraved in marble on our U.S. Supreme Court.
Right.
We have chaplains who are paid with federal tax money, because the concept of the separation of church and state has been completely misrepresented. That is not.
In God we trust is our national motto.
In God we trust is our national motto. It's printed on
We're not
Federal
talking
Reserve
Allah.
And we're not at all. And the 10 Commandments, it's a fact. This is not a debatable notion. This is an objective fact. Our entire separation of our judiciary is based upon Jethro's counsel to Moses in Exodus chapter 18. That's just a fact. It's in the Constitutional Convention's record. That's just a fact. So saying these things, and Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders said it, that we have laws in the state of Arkansas that says you can't murder. We have laws against perjury, not bearing false witness. These are ideas. Like, what is objectionable in telling a child, you know what, murdering is bad.
Right.
You shouldn't kill people. So there are those who are so focused on trying to strip faith from public life in our country that they'll even throw the baby out with the bathwater just because they know that a statement is in the Bible, and it's a statement that most people agree with. They agree that people shouldn't be murdered, but they don't want it published in our schools because they don't want children to know, hey, by the way, the Bible says these things. It's an insane assertion, and it's one that doesn't bear out our national history. The idea that this would be violative of the U.S. Constitution is something that did not exist prior to 1947. The full bank and scope of our nation's history stands against any assertion that having children visibly see the moral law as recorded in the Scripture does not impose upon them a necessity that they convert to become Christ followers.
That's a good point.
Now, that's just the bottom line. Now, I want the children to convert to become Christ followers, but the objective of the 10 Commandments being posted in these schools is not to cause anybody to convert to Christ following, but to connect the reality of the moral laws reflected in Scripture to our national history, and that's a laudable pursuit.
There are many stories we could tell. Stephen McDowell, the Providence Foundation, David Barton of Wall Builders, Bill Federer. There are others who are. They're walking encyclopedias with the history of America's the Christian influence on America's history. But
I literally just wrote a commentary on Ben Franklin's speech on in 1787 at the Constitutional Convention, when he stands up before George Washington and impromptu says, after 4 or 5 weeks of them being in a quagmire, and says, Mr. President, how have we progressed, and we have not hitherto sought to apply to the Father of Lights to illuminate our conversations here now. You guys remember daily when we were in the conflict with Great Britain that we offered prayers in this chamber every day while we were under sense of danger. Do we now feel like we don't need that divine friend? Do we not need him now? And He moved, a formal move. He moved on the floor of the State House in Pennsylvania, that daily prayers being offered every day so that we can press forward in developing our Constitution. Because without it, we were having localized arguments about localized things, and Ben Franklin's motion passed, and every day from that day forward, our Constitutional Convention proceeded in prayer. That our Constitution was birthed out of a prayer meeting in the Pennsylvania State House. Yeah. So to say that having the 10 Commandments on the wall in our schools in our country, in the nation that the Constitution was birthed in prayer, is an insane assertion, is my point.
Yeah, amen. Well, I was going to say that, in the year 1892, Columbus sailed the... my bad. Hold on just a second.
That's 1492.
Yeah, my bad. It was in 1892 that the United States Supreme Court ruled that the United States of America was a Christian nation.
Yeah.
By not to mean that everybody was Christian or everything we did as a nation was Christian, but that our symbols, our history, our documents, as Abe has cited some of that here in the last minute or two, point back to the Pilgrims, the Founding Fathers, everything points to us having if you want to call it a Judeo-Christian heritage, that's fine. But the vast majority of people who came here and settled came here with religious freedom in mind. Yeah, they wanted to make money too and sustain themselves. And a lot of people came here for, to like I said, for business purposes. But the Christian foundation of our country is inarguable, and to the point where even the Supreme Court said so in 1892. Yeah. All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. What's coming up on your show this afternoon, Abe?
Well, I talked a bit yesterday about Joe Kent. We're going to talk some more about the progress. Yeah, Joe Kent and his resignation.
Wasn't it? Joe Kent, the camel?
Joe Camel.
Oh, Joe Camel.
That was a different legal case, too.
Oh, my bad.
You may be mixing up Joe Camel with Clark.
I'm just mixing up centuries here with 1892, Sail the Ocean Blue. I just got to get my facts right. Go ahead, Abe.
No, I plan on giving the latest updates on the progress or lack thereof concerning the SAVE Act, and also giving a bit of the updates on Operation Epic Fury, where things are, how they progress to this point.
Okay. All right, brother. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you.
Take care. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, in our devotion this morning, one of our staff members is writing a book and read the first chapter, and it had to deal with the Billy Graham crusade in Memphis in 1951. And we were told that the mayor of Memphis, when that Billy Graham crusade was going on, called for fasting and prayer.
Yeah.
And nobody screamed.
Right.
There wasn't an ACLU say, you can't, separation of church and state, you can't say that. But that's not that long ago.
No, the liberal idea of separation of church and state, and it's really Christianity that they loathe,
right,
is a relatively modern concept for the last probably 30, 40 years, maybe 40 years or so. Before that, nobody questioned. Nobody questioned the influence of particularly the Christian religion on America being something we wanted to promote. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good for morals and values. It kept crime down.
Yes.
There's all kind of reasons why the outgrowth, I guess you should say, of Christianity being promoted in a country.
I would say too, the opposition to the whole church and state thing, oftentimes they only have a problem with it depending on who's in the White House. For example, Joe Biden. Okay, Joe Biden, he ran on him being a man of faith. They spent an entire night in the 2020 convention talking about how he was a man of faith and he prayed. Nobody said anything. Every speech President Joe Biden ended with him saying, God bless America, God bless our troops. And the humanists never complained. Nobody complained when Barack Obama had the prayer breakfast. Nobody complained when President Bill Clinton signed RFRA into law and said, I'm glad to see I'm not one of the only Baptists in the room. They only complain when it's a Republican talking about God.
Because they know Republicans actually want God to be included and not using God as window
Nancy
dressing.
Pelosi is not getting a letter from somebody from Wisconsin when she mentions Matthew 25 as a reason for immigration reform. They only complain when it's a Republican.
And by the way, most of our listeners know this. I think they probably heard it enough on our network, by the way, that the use of, because Abe mentioned the 1947 Supreme Court case. I think that was Everson v. Walls. I sometimes get these mixed up. But that, I think, was the first time that this statement, a wall of separation between church and state, was ever used in a Supreme Court ruling. And the Supreme Court used it erroneously. The phrase, a wall of separation between church and state, comes from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to a Baptist organization. I want to say it was in Connecticut. I may be wrong on that, but it was in New England. They were worried that Baptists would become second-class citizens because of what government would do. Thomas Jefferson was writing and saying, no, there is a wall of separation between what the government can do to churches.
Right.
It had nothing to do with the way the Supreme Court used it, which was to imply that churches and religious people have no right to bring their religion into politics. It was a misuse of the statement, but it has existed and has become memorized, and everyone thinks it's in the Constitution. A lot of people on the left.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's in the Constitution, just like you said, just like people are led to believe that evolution is a fact when it's still a theory. And so we have a generation. We've educated generations of nincompoops in this country, and that's why we have the problems that we have.
Well, you're animated today, Chris.
He's fired up.
He's
I only
fired
had
up.
one cup of coffee, and that was when I flew back here from my house.
3 Red Bulls later. We see the real Chris.
Red Bull gives you wings.
All right, you're listening to the radio program Today's Issues on American Family Radio. Tim, Ed, Fred, and Chris. Hey, let me interrupt this, the next topic. I was reading a story about the hearings going on in Washington, D.C. today, having to do with Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, a Republican from Oklahoma. You know, he's at his confirmation here to take over for Kristi Noem. She got booted to the side. Where'd they put her?
Southern Shield, is that what it's called?
Like an insurance company?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
The Southern
Breaks out the
Shield.
book, goes over quotes.
This is the war on the cartels in Central
That's what
America.
she's over now?
She is.
But is it a demotion?
Most consider it a demotion, yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so her successor, I get that right?
Successor, yeah.
Successor.
If confirmed.
If confirmed, as Chris just said, is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Let me tell you, you don't get any more Southern name than Mark Wayne. It's not even a double name. It's one name. I've never heard that before. Mark Wayne, just one word right there. But anyway, this gentleman's from Oklahoma. He's a U.S. Senator.
I did not know that till you just said that.
Mark Wayne
sure
Mullen.
is. One
Wayne?
name. Mark Wayne.
He's also part Native American. He was the first Native American legislator in Oklahoma or something of that sort.
Well, I think you forgot about Elizabeth Warren.
Well, she's not from Oklahoma, unless she tells me
she's
that.
not from Oklahoma, but she's like a 50th Cherokee or something.
Yeah, well,
What is
you're
she?
being kind.
What is she? She's got some DNA of some American Indian in her, right?
I don't know.
Remember that? That's how she got
just
the
because
name.
I'm from New England doesn't mean I,
Well,
I
that's
know
the
her
all know each
DNA.
That's the reason she got the name Pocahontas from President Trump.
Yes.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, back to my story. So I'm reading about the hearing today, the confirmation hearing for him to become, which is a cabinet level position. That's a pretty big deal. Department of Homeland Security, which, by the way, is unfunded right now by the Democrats because they don't like ICE. but pressure's building on the Democrats over this because TSA and the airports and everything, that's the main reason. It's becoming a nightmare. And TSA is funded under the Department of Homeland Security, and the Democrats have said, we don't like ICE, so we're not funding the whole agency. Anyway, but I didn't realize there was such bad blood between Rand Paul, who's on the committee, the senator from Kentucky, himself a Republican.
He's the chairman of the committee.
Okay. Wow. He is the chairman of the committee, and usually you don't see two people of the same party going at it like this, but in Washington today, I don't know, can we play this? Maybe after the break. I'll send it to you. Anyway, it's on Fox News. It's one of the lead stories. But Rand Paul is he's angry he's upset with Markwayne Mullin because he says, Rand Paul, that Markwayne Mullin calls him a snake and made fun of the attacker. Remember the guy who attacked Rand Paul at
when
his
he was
home?
on his mower?
Like his
Remember that, and broke all his ribs and everything?
Yeah.
But so Mullin, so Rand Paul's like, say this to my face today. I mean, this is almost, if they were to go into a wrestling match, they probably would have. But Mullin tells Rand Paul, quote, "We just don't get along," end of quote. Let me earn your respect, talking to Rand Paul about him being the new Homeland Security. Anyway, it's personal, and it's down and dirty, and it's going on right now between Rand, that's a name you don't see every day.
Right.
And Markwayne.
And Markwayne.
That's a name you don't see every day. So any comments on this?
Well, I do have a comment on Elizabeth Warren. I looked something up.
Go ahead.
Okay. So in 2018, she released results from a DNA test showing she had a distant Native American ancestor estimated to have lived 6 to 10 generations ago.
Okay.
But tribal leaders, including the Cherokee Nation, rejected the use of DNA testing, emphasizing a tribal citizenship is based on documented lineage and cultural connections. So apparently, Senator Warren does have some Native American ancestry, but it looks like it's pretty small.
Yeah. How distant?
6 to 10 generations ago.
Yeah. I think we all got everything.
If you go back that far.
If you go back that far, we all got everything from around the world. We'll be back momentarily.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
They will thrust a cell phone in your face. If you ask a question, they'll surround you with cameras. They'll scream at you. They'll try to get you to commit violence. I believe God is giving us a little bit of a glimpse into what life without Him would be like.
A Disciple's View with Todd Herman. Critical information from a faith-enriching perspective. Weekdays at noon Central on AFR. This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. A hearing is underway on Capitol Hill. The heads of the CIA and the FBI are testifying about terrorism threats. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is also at the hearing, which coincides with a separate hearing on the nomination of Markwayne Mullin for Secretary of Homeland Security. The Senate is set to do something today on the Save America Act. Democrats don't like it. Republicans say it's necessary.
By doing away with your right to vote, that's the Save America Act for you. It should be called the Save Our Political Hides Act, because that's exactly what it is.
This bill makes it easy to vote and hard to cheat. They're happy with exactly half of the equation and not the other half. But you can't have both and have a functioning representative government.
President Trump is in favor of the Save America Act.
It's so good for our nation. I mean, who would not have voter ID? Who would not have proof of citizenship? And the only people who would want not to have that are people that want to cheat.
For more on this bill, visit our website, afn.net. Israel has eliminated another official in Iran. This one was the intelligence minister. Here's Fox's Trey Yingst.
Ismail Khatib was Iran's intelligence minister, and he was taken out overnight in a precision strike, we are told, by a senior Israeli official. Khatib was also the man responsible in part for shutting down the internet in Iran and even spying on regime officials. This official goes on to say his network specifically targeted current and former U.S. officials, including President Donald Trump. Now, the Iranians are responding with a number of strikes against Israel and Gulf countries. Overnight missiles soaring through the skies of this country. 2 Israelis were killed, elderly people who were in their apartment at the time when this cluster munition exploded there in their neighborhood.
Meanwhile, President Trump has voiced concerns that NATO members don't want to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open and operational.
Well, we don't need too much help, and we don't need any help, actually. We've wiped out their Navy, wiped out their military in every aspect. Their Air Force is now decimated. They have no Air Force, no Navy. I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake, and I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test, because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
World leaders say that the U.S. and Israel started this war and they don't want to get involved. They also recommend a diplomatic solution to bring an end to the war. Well, the Scottish Parliament has rejected an assisted suicide measure. Supporters of assisted suicide say it's about compassion, but critics say it's a violation of ethical, medical, societal, and religious beliefs. The Department of Health and Human Services has postponed a planned meeting this week on vaccines following a ruling by a federal judge. Here's Fox's Jeff Manasso.
HHS is temporarily putting off a meeting of the CDC Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices that was set to take place this week in Atlanta after Boston-based Judge Brian Murphy, a Biden appointee, ruled in favor of the American Academy of Pediatrics, temporarily pausing all actions the committee under HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had taken since last summer, including the department's landmark decision to overhaul the childhood vaccine schedule. An HHS spokesperson saying the department looks forward to this judge's decision being overturned, just like his other attempts to keep the Trump administration from governing. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
In final news, this year's Academy Award saw a dip in the ratings after several years of gains. Just under 17.9 million viewers tuned into Sunday's show. That's down 9% from last year. The show also yielded a more significant 14% decline from last year in viewership from adults aged 18 to 49. It is possible that at least some viewers opted not to watch this year because of political statements they knew would come on the award stage. That being said, there were at least some pro-marriage and pro-motherhood remarks from this year's nominees. Find more news on afn.net. Like us on Facebook, follow us on X, and subscribe to our free daily email news briefs on afn.net. Thanks for listening.
Hello, my name is Andy Miller, and I'm the president of Wesley Biblical Seminary based in Ridgeland, Mississippi. We are developing trusted leaders for faithful churches, and we do that based in the authority of Scripture and in the reality that Christians can be transformed. We do that also through bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees. We'd love for you to learn more about Wesley Biblical Seminary at wbs.edu, where we're developing trusted leaders for faithful churches.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildmon, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues on the American Family Radio. Thanks for listening to AFR. Tim, Ed, Fred, and now Steve Paisley Jordal's in the house.
Hey, everybody.
You're in the house, Steve.
I am in the house.
We're going to go by use little 90s lingo there.
In
the house, little Arsenio Hall. Huh? Remember that, Ed?
Yeah.
Arsenio Hall, yeah.
Yeah.
He's in the
I think
house.
he started the expression in the house. All right, Steve, what do you got, my friend?
Well, you tell me, because there's a couple things you teased last.
I want to go with the Brent Hume.
All right.
First, okay.
All right.
Everybody knows who he is, right?
Yeah. They were talking about the coverage of the war and how things are going. And Brett Hume had a great analogy because there was a professor that had been talking and posting that the war between Iran and the U.S. was a stalemate. And that no one is winning this thing. And we've heard this from several left-leaning news sites and commentators. And Britt Hume said, well, let's take this back and think of this from a different angle. Let's listen to Cut 11.
For a moment, Martha, let's turn the situation around and assume a situation in which the United States is under attack from a major enemy. And that enemy is ranging freely over our skies with no resistance, bombing at will, sending missiles at will, attacking our vessels, attacking our ballistic missile systems, attacking our aircraft at will. That they have wiped out, they've killed the president and wiped out his cabinet, and countless officials in the echelons below. And we have responded as the United States by shutting off a major waterway that we need for our economy. Yes, it harms other economies as well. Do you think anyone would be saying that this is, as Walter Russell Mead put it today, a stalemate? I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That is brilliant. I've always liked Britt Hume there from Fox News. We talked about this last hour some, but the political left and their friends in the mainstream news media, they want the United States to lose. Because if the United States loses the war, it hurts Trump. So that's their main objective to see is how can we damage Trump and by extension the Republicans, and that's if the U.S. is maybe not loses, but gets hurt so bad that it begins to be a liability politically for President Trump. It's sick because you start saying to yourself, whose side are you on? Are you really on Iran's side? But it sounds like it with a lot of these folks who, if you're going to say, like Britt Hume said, if you're going to make an analysis of the war so far, take your Trump derangement syndrome and put it on the shelf, but they can't help themselves. Then you need an objective look at this war is just as he described. The U.S. and Israel have basically wiped out Iran, okay, from being a threat, and how that becomes something that's a tie, is that they're only using that to try to deceive the American public into saying, see how wrong Trump was on this.
Yeah.
You see, so TDS is real. And so, listen, we've talked about this too. President Trump is a unique cat. Huh?
Yep.
And I mean that in
the best possible way.
And so, and I know people may disagree with me on this, and that's fine. We can all be friends. I don't like the way he talks. Oftentimes, as President of the United States, he just takes decorum and kicks it out the door, and he does so unceremoniously, without decorum. And so I think I would like to see more, but that's not him. So and now, since he's president and there's no re-election coming up, then he's not going to be filtered at all. And so what I'm saying is those people on the left, he goes after them so often and makes it so personal, as they do and have done to him, that it just becomes, for those people, it just becomes, and for him too, quite frankly, a lot of times you can't even see things any rational way other than I hate that person because they hate me.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
I understand, and I think a lot of the TDS comes from. I've mentioned this before on the air.
Trump derangement syndrome for you?
Well,
for
Trump-
30 seconds.
Well, Trump derangement syndrome is a term that people on the conservative side attribute, almost as if it's a mental illness, to those on the left who only have hatred for Trump, and it colors and affects everything else they do, so that they're no longer thinking in a rational way.
Right.
They're being run by this emotion of hate.
Right.
And I think a lot of this stems from the fact that President Trump, Donald J. Trump, was not supposed to win in 2016. I think these members of the progressive left and even further the radical left thought they were going to have 8 years of Hillary Clinton following 8 years of Barack Obama, and conservatism would die and go away, and they would have their progressive, quote unquote, regressive utopia. And Donald Trump defied all odds. He was combative. He was that New York street fighter. He's insulting. He is brash. He is
can be a
sometimes
child.
arrogant, like when he says, I can do whatever I want with Cuba.
Right.
That's not considered presidential way of speaking, even though it's true. Okay. And so 2016 lit the left's hair on fire. Trump became the person who kept the utopia from coming, and they have hated his guts ever since then. And the fact that he has been successful.
You're really waving your hand, boy.
I'm
You
waving
go.
it.
You go.
I'm
For
waving.
those
I'm
watching
going
on the show
full
on video, you're going to wear your arm out, brother.
Full
Go ahead.
Italian on this one. Okay. So the fact that he has been so successful has made them go insane.
Yeah.
And that's why they can't even recognize, like, the Abraham Accords,
right?
Or the success of the economy in his first administration. They cannot say he's done an amazing job. He's done what 5 other presidents could not do in terms of shutting down Iran. They can't even say congratulations on that because they are engulfed in hatred for this man, and I think it's all because he stood in the way of their utopia.
And his personality doesn't help. Doesn't help. And I'm not, because when you get tongue lashed and call names by him, and he's done it to people on the right too, or conservatives, it personalizes things.
Yes,
that's what I'm talking about. I oftentimes don't like the way he talks because it just is demeaning. But that's just who he is. Go ahead, Fred. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, and the other factor, the Democratic Party and the mainstream media are joined at the hip. And it goes
absolutely
to a certain extent. It goes beyond Trump derangement syndrome. They are linked, mainstream media and the Democratic Party. They are linked ideologically. They do not like what America has stood for through the years. I'm talking about capitalism. I'm talking about all of those things of earning your way up the ladder.
And he's very patriotic.
Et cetera.
Trump is very patriotic.
He's very patriotic. He believes in what most of America believed in for years and years and years. You know, open up a business, develop your business, have free enterprise, have competition. The left stands against that. Ideologically speaking. That's why when Joe Biden opened up our southern border and millions of people invaded this country, the mainstream media, with the exception of Fox, which stands over here by itself, they refused to go to the border. They refused to go to the border to tell that story.
That's right.
Because they agreed with Joe Biden on this.
Yeah, no, they're in lockstep. The liberal news media, they're in lockstep with the Democrat Party. And you just have to factor that in. Go ahead, Steve.
There are many reasons that I really hope that the Republicans maintain the control of the Senate and the House in the midterms, not the least of which is if they lose control of the House, the 3D chess Trump that accomplished everything is gone, and the bully is the only thing that's left. And we will have 2 years of just...
I fully expect if the House flips to Democrats, which... betting odds are that it will, just like Tim always says, just for historical reasons. Economy's not doing great. You punish the party in power. I fully expect them to impeach Trump yet again.
Oh, yeah.
If the Senate flips, maybe it's 50-50 that they convict him. So, folks, you have got to you've got to register to vote, and turn out to vote here in 2026.
Absolutely.
That stuff I just mentioned could happen.
It's a distinct possibility. All right, we have there's a company called Foundation that has made humanoid Phantom MK1 soldier robots.
MK1s?
They're called the Phantom robot, and they stand about 5'11", 176 pounds, and they are
Wait, hold on.
being trained.
5'11", how much?
176.
I'm right there. You add 15 pounds.
You think you can take on a robot?
Well, I'm 5'10" and a half.
Yeah.
191. But I'm trying to get that down. So I could get it down to 176 and I could go toe-to-toe with
The thing about robots is they don't lie about their height or their weight.
They are.
So what about what's happening with this robot?
They're training to use any weapon that humans can use on the battlefield, and they've sent a couple of these to Ukraine to train in the war to see how they do. They'll be doing things like placing explosives at doors and who knows what else. But here's the thing. The company Foundation is in very close, this is according to a guy named LeBlanc, a very close contact with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to possibly put these Phantom robots to patrol the country's southern border.
Wait a minute. If they're Phantom, that means unseen, right?
Well, it does when you're absent the title. You know, they're very visible.
Okay. So they're Phantom. They're called what?
The name is Phantom. Phantom MK1 robot.
But they're MK1s.
Yes. Yes.
No, that's
as opposed
you
to
have
MK2s.
to distinguish.
That's true.
Between
Because the MK2, I think they're still a little twitchy.
MK2, but the MK3s have developed attitude problems. That's
what we hear.
This story freaks me out.
Yeah.
Okay, it really does. I pay attention to this. I am not a
Talking about robots.
The development of robots, and the progress in mimicking human motion.
Yeah.
And walking, dancing, all kinds of stuff has really accelerated. And the very idea of putting robots on the battlefield with weapons, with explosives.
We're going to put robots on the border.
Yeah, robots on the
You hear this?
Yeah.
That's what Steve's talking about.
That's what they're saying.
We're going to put them on. What are they going to be doing down there?
Humanoid soldiers are a natural extension of existing autonomous systems such as drones, says Mike LeBlanc, who's the company co-founder. He just says that they're in close contact regarding the possible use
What language do they speak?
You
have to be bilingual if you're going to be on the border.
I suppose.
You know what I'm
they
saying?
can be programmed.
Am I right?
Yeah, they got weapons and you got people coming across and say, hey, listen, we're legit. And then that robot says,
Show me your papers.
No comprende.
No comprende.
Points a gun at you.
All right.
And what happens when they learn? Because robots can learn.
Yeah.
Don't make me mad.
Right.
When you hear that coming out of a robot.
All I'm saying is whatever I got left, hopefully I got 20 years,
Right,
25
maybe.
years.
Yeah.
I hope robots don't come.
Take over the world.
I wish. But I got kids and grandkids. I don't want them to face the robots. I guess Papa will stay around long enough to face the robots with my kids and grandkids.
I don't know. The robot's only 5'11", 176, but they can probably move pretty fast.
They
don't
can
you
move
think?
faster than me.
Yeah. All right. You're listening to Today's Issues on American Family Radio.
That's
Thanks
scary.
for listening. Tim. I'm Tim with Ed and Fred and Steve.
And by the way, Steve,
Yes, sir.
You in the middle of you talking about this story, you said, and I got reading this information from a guy named LeBlanc.
Oh, no, that's French, isn't it?
It's LeBlanc.
LeBlanc. So
LeBlanc.
I'm just wondering, do you have like friends who are spies?
No.
Or what?
This is, the reason is because they use his last name down in the paragraph I read. And I
you didn't know the first name.
His first name is Mike, and he's the co-founder of the company Foundation
Okay.
that's making the robots.
You thinking about the Pink Panther here?
I was exactly what I was
Does
thinking.
your robot fight?
LeBlanc? Keto, you fool. Put down that robot.
All right, next story.
All right. I want to point out, John Fetterman was on Fox the other day, and he was saying that he stands alone in the Democrat Party as being a friend of Israel, and he explains why. And I wanted to play this for you, cut 12.
I am the only Democrat that is absolutely fully supportive of what the president has done, with epic fury. And that's isolated me as in my party. But for me, generation now, we are losing generations in my party to supporting Israel and, really the nation there, the only nation in the region that has the kind of values that we as a Democrat, we want to live under that. So for me, I don't follow the polls. I'm going to follow the moral clarity of Israel, and I'll be the one Democrat to celebrate, continue to eliminate, leadership that just a couple weeks ago just executed thousands of their own young people there.
Listen, good for John Fetterman.
Yes.
Because he is a fair-minded Democrat. Okay. He's probably, he's not going to get any invitations to any parties the Democrats are holding,
Well, not if he's going to wear shorts and a hoodie, but obviously because of his politics too. We're not implying that he's a conservative by any means. He is a fair-minded, old-school liberal.
Yeah, and he said right there, there was a day when Democrats and Republicans all supported Israel.
Right.
And it wasn't a question of, it was bipartisan. Democrat and Republican presidents all supported Israel. I'm not talking about every single policy Israel has or every single action Israel takes, but I'm talking about, generally speaking, there was broad support for Israel's right to exist and to defend themselves. And the Democrat Party now has a lot of, and there's some Republicans, but the Democrat Party, John Fetterman's the exception.
Yes.
Now, as he said, I'm basically all alone in my own party.
Isolated.
Even Chuck Schumer, a Jew.
Right.
You don't hear him defending Israel that much or talking about this issue. So, anyway, it was good to hear John Fetterman. Listen, do we all wish he would, most people wish he would maybe dress it up a little bit in terms of his attire. He likes that hoodie and things like that. I understand the desire for comfort too.
Right.
I don't know if I'd run for Congress just for the reason I wouldn't want to wear a suit and tie every day.
Every day?
Every day. That would get old. All right. So anyway, good for John Fetterman. What's next, Steve?
All right. Good news. The FBI has rescued a 16-year-old girl who had been missing for about a month. She was safely recovered following a multi-state investigation that led to the arrest of a kidnapper, a repeat kidnapper. He goes by single name Negron, Negron. He was arrested. He had this gal holed up in a hotel room, no doubt using her for very ill purposes. And so the FBI came along. It's the second such rescue that they've made fairly recently. They have also recovered a 13-year-old child.
These are trafficked girls.
Trafficked girls, yes. So
here in the United States, folks,
yeah,
this country's got a lot of evil in it. We need God desperately.
Yeah. So good news. I just wanted to
listen,
bring that up.
We were critical of some, especially in leadership of the FBI under the Biden administration, because they were at times using their authority to go after Christians and pro-lifers and that kind of thing. But we always said that there are the rank and file FBI agents who still do their jobs, and kudos to the FBI for finding these two girls and continuing to make the scourge of trafficking a priority.
Mm-hmm.
Good on them. And pray for these girls.
We got about 4 or 5 minutes. What you got left?
Well, there's been a Tucker Carlson sighting. He has gone off the deep end. Tucker, conspiracy theories, who knows what's happened to him. But
after he left Fox News.
After he left Fox News.
Fox News, he was great, in my opinion. I think everybody, go ahead.
But yesterday on St. Patrick's Day, he found he kind of went another level deep. I just wanted to play you a little bit of Cut 14.
Good evening. I'm out here searching for leprechauns. These are tiny little Irish alcoholics looking to get your children drunk. You may think they're innocent, being as they're on the Lucky Charms box and all. but that's what mainstream media wants you to think. Why do you think there's no gold behind our currency? Because the leprechauns took it all and put it in a pot. Now, we all love a capitalist, but leprechauns are just agents of chaos looking to get young people hooked on whiskey and Guinness. You know, Ireland needs to answer for this. Leprechauns, they're magically malicious.
That is a guy named
Magically
Alex
malicious. That was funny. That was an impersonator.
An impersonator named Alex DeWitt.
Just to be clear, that was a Tucker Carlson impersonator who's got him down pretty good.
That is very close, and Tucker Carlson is not an easy voice to mimic.
No.
Magically malicious.
That's genius. And that laugh, I mean, that's pretty spot
You know it's
on.
Tucker Carlson when you hear that laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
That's magically malicious. I like it.
So
the United States lost to the World Baseball Classic.
To Venezuela?
To Venezuela.
What was the final score there? 3-2.
3-2.
Oh,
Close
wow.
game.
You know, give it up for Venezuela because,
right.
You know, they're taking on the country that invented baseball. And
kind of like when the United States beat Canada in the
that happened too?
Olympics. You remember?
In hockey?
In hockey.
Did the Canadians
Twice.
invent hockey?
Twice. Do you know that the game-winning goals, Jack, who's the guy the hero, the guy that scored the goal, Jack?
Oh, Jack Hughes?
Hughes is upset because the game-winning puck for both men's and women's is in the National NHL Hall of Fame. It's being displayed in Canada.
You know what's amazing about this is Venezuela won this game 3-2. The Americans, they basically had their all-stars, right?
Yeah.
Both countries did. But this also goes to show you the old truism about baseball. Almost unlike any other sport, probably, I don't know, I couldn't comment on the hockey necessarily. In baseball, you can have a great pitcher that can be a neutralizer. So the other team over the course of a season may have better hitting, but it doesn't matter in one game. If you have a shutdown pitcher who can't pitch every game, but he can pitch that one game, that can neutralize all the great hitters because great pitching beats great hitting every time.
Well, and there were major leaguers, I'm guessing, on the Venezuelan team, too.
And
so it wasn't all amateurs.
Right. Oh, they had
Latin
their
America
own.
produces some great
Very
ball players.
good ball players.
Are there any Venezuelan hockey players?
I don't, not that I know of.
I just didn't know if there was.
No, I don't think that's a thing.
Okay. Thank you,
Not a lot
Steve.
of ice in Venezuela. You're welcome.
No.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Steve.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Ed.
You betcha.
I didn't mean anything about that mafia Italian reference earlier. That
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see if you meant
Oh.
something by it.
Oh, am
You
I
might
gonna
wake up with a horse's
am I-
head in your bed.
Am I going to sleep with the fishes tonight?
No.
Thank you, Fred, for
You
being a
betcha.
nice Canadian
I tell you, I
He's
try.
nice.
today.
He's nice.
Our thanks to Chris. Chris got really animated today.
He did.
I like that spunk he brought. Thanks to Cole Green and to Brent Creeley, our producer, and Abe Hamilton. See you next time.